Glory.
I'm Minister Fire from
We're with Double Fire Ministries. And we are here in Alabama.
Alexander City. We are here.
We've been all over the place, guys.
We're here in Alexander City, Alabama at Horseshoe Bend.
Yes. And let me tell you a little bit about this now. The Lord told us to come here. What this is here with Horseshoe Bend is it's very important because it actually was the reason why when they lost here in Horseshoe Bend, the Indians lost. Not only did over 1,000 of them die, but it also opened up the 23 million acres that we now know, Georgia, Alabama, and parts of Mississippi, because not only did they do that, but it also led to the relocation. It was this battle that they lost that actually gave them the battle. I think it was 1 year later.
Yes, actually it stems upon which most of us who went to school learned in history was the Battle of 1812. So that was a period of years. And so, but this was like the beginning of the Battle of 1812. Indians began to lose their land. And they lost 23 million acres of land.
They had been fighting since the early 1700s, really.
Yeah.
But this was just one of the major battles, which was, I believe Cherokee Indians were here.
Cherokee Indians.
It was a mixture.
Creek Indians. Yeah, it was a mixture of about 5 different
Muskie.
tribes. Yeah. Muskegee Indians. Yes. So we had a mixture of Indians here. And not only that, with the Indians that was slaughtered, there was also a lot of course, white settlers slaughtered. So what happened was the settlers came here and the European settlers just began to settle on their land. And the Indians didn't take too kindly to them encroaching on their land, which is the 23 million. And actually they had more than 23 million acres of land. That was almost half of the land that was taken from them. So they had more than that as well. And so as that began to ensue, the Indians began to come in and they began to kill the white settlers. And then that sparked a big war because now here comes Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama military coming in to fight the Indians because
including General Andrew Jackson, now we know was President of the United States.
And so after all of that went on, there were treaties that were made since the 1700s. All the treaties failed. And so a year after Andrew Jackson was in office?
It was 1 year after this war did they actually do the removal of the Indians.
And sent them all to Oklahoma, which began
the Trail of Tears. And so the thing that was very interesting when we were looking at, because we're about redeeming the land and the Lord told us to come here, is, this was their land. They weren't savages. A lot of us were taught they were savages just because they taught a different language. And they didn't all live in tents. They lived in huts. They grew their own gardens. I mean, they are the ones who did teach the pilgrims, that's why we have Thanksgiving.
How to live on the land.
Corn and potatoes and, how to live on the land. And so it was kind of like this. And they saw what they wanted when the European settlers got here. And the reason why they had so many different treaties is it was all about, the Indians trying to compromise. Even though it was all their land, they really didn't have a reason to compromise, except for the fact that they were being murdered. But what ended up happening with every treaty, it ended up failing, and they kept getting more and more land to the U.S. and less to the Indians.
And the Creek nations that were here, more of their lives were being lost. So they kept diminishing in size, too, as the years went on, because of the bloodshed. And then let's remember too, you had a lot of white settlers who were for the Indians, friendship with the Indians. And as we know that when you are in friendship with the Indians, if they were coming against them, they also killed the white settlers that came against the Indians. Same thing with slavery. They killed the white people who were that went against slavery. So, you have both sides of slaughter here.
They would actually identify them as that race,
like Injun or nigger, as they said. So, here, as God has brought us here, to put the stake in the ground.
Oh, one more thing I want to tell them. This river that you guys see behind us, this river after the Battle of Horseshoe Bend was so bloody that they deemed it as unusable water. That's a lot of blood for this type of river that goes even in depths of 30 foot in different places, that they couldn't use the water. I mean, can y'all imagine how much blood that had to be, that it was unusable?
Yes.
It was a massacre. That's just what it was. It was just, it's very sad. Very sad.
So now what we know as Georgia, the parts of Georgia, all of Alabama, and parts of Mississippi, that was a 23 million acres of land that was taken from the Crow Creek Indians.
And that's what opened up the land. And that's when they went to Africa and again saw what they wanted.
And began to bring the Africans over to fill in these parts of the lands to work the land.
But it wasn't just Africans. They used Indians too.
Yeah, and the Indians
were enslaved as well.
Were enslaved as well. Yes, they were.
So for right now, that's what we got. We're going to be showing you a video soon of when we put the stake in the ground. But we just wanted to show you guys, you know, kind of talk a little bit of why God brought us here. Some of you guys know this, like she said. Some of you are smart enough to remember that you learned it back in the history. And some of you was like, I'm out of school, I'm done. What was 1812?
Well,
so
actually, they didn't tell us everything about 1812. You know, you had to research the rest to find out what really happened.
So anyway, until next time and see what city we're going to pop up next, we will talk to you soon. Good job.